Needs help.
Alright, guys. That was fun.
That was it.
Yeah, we did.
Mr. Worldwide, yeah.
Yeah, because I thought it was worldwide, and I was like, nope, no, it's world view. Thank you, Magical.
Yeah, I got you. But no, what'd you think of the first TriCast?
Oh my god, Albus.
I loved it. It was beautiful.
Basically, to get AHQ to get AHQ to retweet it, because the guy only knows me. He only retweets it when I'm casting.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do an AHQ game, because I was meant to do the AHQ game initially.
Right.
Before
So
it got
that's why-
cancelled.
Well, that's why we made sure it was just like, you know what, fuck it, we're
Yeah.
just all gonna do it.
Which we don't mind, actually. I don't mind doing trios. That was fun.
That's cool. As long as
It
you
was a
guys
good
didn't mind, I
experience.
had fun with it.
It was a good experience. I turned him up so much too.
I asked him. I asked you. I asked you guys, like, I asked you, like, a bunch.
Well, okay, but I turned you up, but apparently only you weren't getting picked up very well, while Sin was getting picked up perfectly fine.
Okay, that's weird. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You're at 10. No, we. I don't know. Well, because Sin was heard well, and Opal is sitting at 10 plus decibels.
What's your Twitter, Novum?
Yeah.
What's your Twitter, Novum? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Because I'm just doing a tweet.
Oh well.
I can't find you. Oh, got it now. Yeah. It just wasn't appearing on the tag this person sort of deal, you know?
Follow Doctor. Easy money.
Oh god, don't talk to me about that guy. Come on. Come on, you know that tilts me. You know that tilts me. Yeah, do you like my tweet about the LMS broadcast?
Why isn't it called worldwide? It needs to be worldwide.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's the meme tweet. I'm still doing the same image, but I'm gonna do CL for you now.
I told you it should be worldwide, so we could say Mr. Worldwide every time.
That would be funny as well.
It is
No.
absolute gold. That's why I'm suggesting it.
Wait, is it even taken? Like, is the Twitch taken? No, it's not. Okay, I'm securing this name.
Deal worldwide.
Worldwide.
I like worldwide.
Actually, we could-
all
we-
vote
we-
for worldwide.
Actually, we could do that as our second stream as well.
But worldwide, best worldwide.
Yeah.
Or we do see a worldview as the second one.
Yeah. Worldwide should be the first one. Worldview should be the second. I like this.
What if we just take these streams to our personal... What if we just take streams to our personal channels? Ooh, gets serious
Ooh.
now, doesn't it?
Oh. And we'll just change our names to worldwide.
Or
Okay,
the
I got the actual tweet.
No,
Uh,
we're the unofficial, Complete League worldwide unofficial English broadcast.
I love it. I love it. I fucking love it. Let's go.
Well, you've just got to add unofficial worldwide. Do you like the tweet anyways, guys?
I yell at games. That's what I do.
It's
By the
Raze
way-
Gaming versus the Super Saiyan Cartman Team Viable.
I love it. That's
By
beautiful.
the way, I got really pissed off when doing the tweets for Compete League yesterday, so I did this one.
Yeah.
People die when they are killed.
Hey, it's better than Jungle's jungle because they're junglers.
I hate my job at...
Fate Stay Night, is it not?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I am the bone of my sword.
I hate my job at like that admin thing because it's basically
You hate
turned
doing
into
clicks, yeah.
do Twitter. We got the important and interesting things. We got that covered. We now have a head organizer. We now have a head streamer. Everything is working. You can focus on the Twitter. That's fine. Oh no. Never mind though.
Take my hand and we'll go away to a different place. Float on air and we'll hide away. I'll be your escape. Look up and feel the shifting winds tossing us around again. Hold tight, get ready to begin and just levitate. Take my hand and we'll go away to a different place. Float on air and we'll hide away. I'll be your escape. Look up and feel the shifting winds tossing us around again. Hold tight, get ready to begin and just levitate. No control over where we go, but we don't care to know. Ignorance years are gone, and they drifted back from where they came, and they will not be missed. Look up and feel the shifting winds tossing us around again. Hold tight, you're ready to begin, and just levitate.
Get down to the B-side.
Hello everybody, I am Nico Nelson Del Valle, and I am here tonight alongside Sin McLeod to bring you the 2017 League of Legends Master Series for Compete League, our unofficial English broadcast. We're going to be getting right into a match between Fireball and Raze Gaming. Before we talk about that, how are you doing, Stuart?
I'm doing pretty good, just coming off of that series with HQ, coming out with a good win when they brought in their substitutes. Did have to go to full power before they could take down HKA. But now looking ahead at this series, it's going to be Raze Gaming going up against Fireball. Raze Gaming coming off of a win in their previous series, playing fairly well against Marchi, and this is Fireball's first series, so they'll be looking to pick up a win.
Yeah, and it should definitely be a really fun one, because we did see Raze Gaming the other day, a super fun series. They brought Machi 17 all the way to 3 games, and if they want to really prove themselves as a competitor in this league, maybe even looking for playoffs, they definitely need to win this one, assuming that Fireball hasn't really improved in the, a gap between their 6th place finish in the last season.
Fireball definitely wanted to improve off of that. I believe, I'm not 100%, they were in the promotion tournament, were they not?
No, they were not. They were 6th because they finished 6th.
Sixth is the safe spot. Yeah, they definitely don't want to have a position worse than last season. But this season, they definitely got to look to be trying to find their way into those playoff spots. As we look at the bans, we're seeing the Ivern and the Xayah and the Caitlyn, really that protect the AD carry staple all out of the way at the minute. And on the other side, it's the teamfight utility of Galio and Zac that are being prioritized as the bans.
So I do really expect, there goes that Syndra. It was really important in a lot of matches last week. It seems to be a very high priority pick in the LMS right now, in that it totally dominates a lot of lane matchups, and because and it gives them the mid laner a lot more access to the backline in order to just use that Scout of the Week as a way to both initiate team fights and clean them up after they're over.
Yeah, previously people did really fear the Fizz matchup into Syndra. There have been some changes, so with the Banshee's Veil, you can rush that as the first item, and then obviously he can't land the fish on you. So Syndra's a much safer blind pick than she used to be, but still you can play like the likes of Echo and Fizz into her. There's just not as much kill potential as there used to be.
Yeah, I noticed that you were actually disappointed that in the last series when we saw the Syndra, the Fizz wasn't picked into it. That was what you were talking about.
So that's like
right?
Westor's pick as well, and he's so comfortable on that. I was really disappointed because it is still a matchup that's fairly good. But speaking of fairly good matchups, this is the Orianna locked in. Orianna, she can't really contest the push early. Syndra able to put those balls down on the wave and do pretty fine for herself. But on the other side, it's just going to be Orianna scaling up, looking for those big team fight ultimates as the game goes on. Whereas Syndra, as we know, is much more single target based.
I have to say, I really loved Raze Gaming's first 3 picks. They picked a very nice balance of both engage and disengage champions that can serve both purposes, with both the Thresh and the Gragas, who are good at both engaging and disengaging, because Thresh can throw out that death sentence, but he still got his box, he still got his lantern, and he can always use his Flay to help with the disengage. And the same thing with the Gragas, in that his explosive cask and his body slam work both as engage and disengage tools in the right situations. And you can even do that with Orianna as well. I really love this balanced approach that they're using to champ select.
But looking at the second phase of bans, you can see that's the Sejuani and the Kalista banned away. That's Lil V not getting his Kalista, I assume. They've probably played against that in scrims. And on the other side is the Rumble and the Lee Sin banned away, targeting the junglers, knowing they have that Gragas available to go into the jungle as that flex pick. And they do exactly that by locking in this Jarvan, who has just been such a rising top laner recently, with the armor penetration he gets on his Q, with the massive bruiser build and the AoE damage he can put down in team fights. He's so strong into so many matchups.
Yeah, I've got to say, I don't really like Fireball's draft so far. It seems like everything they've picked up is very much counter-engage. That means that they can't, they have very few tools in order to make proactive plays by themselves unless they hit the Ash Arrow, whereas on the side of Raze Gaming, they have tools that can do both the engage and the disengage.
What?
And
Okay,
we're actually going to see a Sivir.
That's a Sivir Thresh lane into the Braum and the Ashe. I believe, I'm not 100%, that the Braum shield actually stops the ricochet from Kalista. From Sivir, rather. Still looking at the Kalista pick. And then,
You're like, who the hell bans that?
who bans Kalista? Come on. But this means that, to me, Lil V must have a very interesting champion pool if he picks Sivir and they're willing to ban Kalista against him. Really targeting him out with 3 AD bans in this game, though. That Sivir pick is going to deny the arrow from Ashe as well, of course, with the spell shield available to her. And really would just become that late game carry where she wants to build something like Essence Reaver, Phantom Dancer, and just get those AoE crit damage later on in fights. So it's pretty much like it's a similar sort of playstyle to Xayah, except it doesn't have a strong late game, and currently it doesn't have a strong early game either. So really it's just a worse version of Xayah.
Yeah, and for Fireball, a lot of their bans really seemed to be more targeted. It wasn't just the 80 carries, it was also them taking away that Sejuani from PK, who played it to really, really strong effect in their last series against Machi 17. He played it every single game. He really loves that champion, and he was able to utilize it perfectly. So it'll be nice to see PK on something different, something a lot more aggressive with this Jarvan 4.
Yeah, into the Shen matchup as well. It is a matchup that could go either way. Shen does always have those sort of breakpoint matchups where it's to do with his skill early, and it slowly becomes more of a matchup about Who can make more of an impact with the team? Will it be the Shen ultimates, or will it be the opposing top laner? Whether they be a carry or a tank being able to control team fights.
Yeah, and I definitely think Raze Gaming has more of the tools, although Fireball, they need to be careful about engaging onto them, because although they do not really have that many engage tools other than the Scatter the Weak and the Arrow, they do have a lot of things which make it really easy for them to counter-engage. If they get engaged on, they have a lot of tools to handle that situation. It does give Raze Gaming a lot more control of the map, but you got to see what they decide to do. But anyways, we are going to be getting out onto the Rift. Of course, Fireball versus Raze Gaming, with Fireball on the blue side with Ninuo in the top lane. Wind, or wait, huh? Oh, I see that they changed it around. Wind's actually in the jungle position on the scoreboard, which is what confused me. But it's going to be Wulala in the jungle, Wind in the middle lane, Unified at AD carry, and Skull on support.
So we saw early on the side of Fireball did manage to end up getting in deep, putting in a ward near that Raptor pit, just trying to stop the Gragas from being able to move without vision. They know he starts Raptors, so they want to know where he is on the map, be able to track him, make sure they don't get caught by one of those level 3 cheese ganks with the body slam. But on the other side, we can see that Wulala is going to have the same problem. His Raptors are warded up. And because of that, Laba's actually going to move over and start his blue buff instead.
Yeah, although Wulala is going to be able to start the Raptor camp, and something I actually just see, I'm pretty sure that Ninuo actually decided to pick up the Gromp before heading up to top lane. It is, alright, wait, never mind. Forgot it spawns late now. I'm dumb. Forget what I said. I think he was just like scouting out to make sure nobody took the blue buff. But
yeah, with them knowing that that Laba wasn't at his Raptors, wasn't at his red buff, it did I assume make them rather suspect. So he had to back off and make sure they weren't trying to invade on his blue buff. Smart call, but it may cost him a little bit of lane pressure on this first wave, as Wind gets chunked very low by Wuji.
Yeah, but pretty even trading in the middle lane. I don't think there's much kill pressure in that lane, except for in Wind when he starts hitting his later levels, because he does have that Ignite. But I'm actually more interested in how this bottom lane matchup is going to go. You'd expect this to be a fairly farm-heavy lane, but how do you think that's going to work out? Oh, wait a second. Wuji is actually in trouble in the middle lane as Wulala has set up for a gank. He does get ignited. He uses the cleanse to pop off the debuff, but he is burning down still from the red. It's not going to be enough, so he is going to be able to stay alive as he heads back to base. But both summoners burned from both mid laners.
Definitely in favor of Syndra right now. She was falling a little bit behind in terms of the wave pressure, but now forcing Wuji out. It's going to give him full control. Going back to your point on bot lane, though, I feel like this is going to be a matchup that is favored towards the Ashe early, but Sivir's going to potentially build like BF Sword, Zeal, and then she's going to have the necessary attack speed and crit damage to be able to clear waves very effectively with that Ricochet.
Yeah, so one thing I did actually think went actually really well for Wuji on that middle lane gank. Okay, we're going to have to stop talking about that because Wulala is again on a gank, this time in the top lane. PK is going to use his flag and drag combo to start getting away. He's starting to get burned down by the red buff. He's able to sidestep the end of the line. As Laba joins, he flashes in for that body slam. Wulala is forced to flash away to escape. It's going to knock him really low and probably force him back into his jungle.
Good timing from Laba, turning up, being able to shut down the gank potential, but it's Wulala has to go back to farming in the jungle. He's going to use his smite on that Gromp. But really interesting now from Laba, just having this amount of control. It's not really what you'd expect in this matchup, because Gragas is the person you expect to see ganking around like level 3, 4, and maybe 6. And the Graves is really the hard farmer, where he's just going to be constantly trying to get pressure into your jungle, because he can just farm so quickly and so effectively without losing that much HP.
Yeah, although having his flash burned in order to counter that top lane gank as well for Laba, it means that he's not going to be able to have as much early pressure as he would like on the Gragas, in addition to just being out-pressured by Wulala over the course of this game so far.
Yeah, Wulala's just trying to find his footing right now. He's still not based, sitting on a large amount of gold, and is just trying to get the full clear off before he bases and potentially picks up like the likes of the double longsword. Down in the bot lane, though, we're seeing Ashe pick up a small CS advantage for herself right now. And she's just going to use that volley to continue to be able to push the wave, have wave pressure if she so chooses. And she knows that Syndra is too afraid to walk. Sorry, Sivir is too afraid to walk up and try and contest that, as the Thresh can't really get any good hooks through that amount of stacked minions.
Yeah, I'm honestly interested to see more towards the jungle if a lead develops, just because Ulala has already invested 2 ganks on a pretty weak ganker and still not managed to pick up a kill. And even in the middle lane gank, he didn't actually get a giant advantage because Wuji was able to walk back to lane in a perfect amount of time, and because both summoners were actually invested by his own mid laner as well as Wuji decided to escape. So I'm wondering if Laba will start picking up a bit of a lead in pressure, and if Ulala will have to invest some more time farming his jungle. I'm not sure if that's going to actually happen, just because Graves is that really hard farmer.
Looking towards the mid lane here, though, you can see that Wuji's actually a base down at this point, with Wind having his double Dorans and Wuji only sitting on a single one. It means that Syndra being equal on farm right now. She's doing really well for herself, as she did blow the ultimate onto Wuji, but just going to end up nothing coming from it, as Laba's just sitting in that brush. Wuji potentially trying to bait the Syndra in, but out of mana. Just going to play it safe.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we do still see Wulala in the blue side jungle of Raze Gaming. I don't think he managed to actually pick anything up there. I'm pretty sure that Laba had already cleared that side of his jungle previously, but it was nice to see him try and take advantage of the fact that he basically knew where Laba was.
Definitely useful for him, having knowledge of the opposing jungler, being able to invade more effectively. With this blue buff respawning shortly, the amount of vision control Fireball have in this side of the jungle, they could be looking to collapse. As you see Skull coming up as well, they want to give this over to Wind, surely.
Yeah, but a nice rotation over from Raze Gaming's bottom lane is going to stop Fireball from straight up taking the blue buff. It might actually reset as the patience is starting to get pretty low, and Raze Gaming might be looking to turn around, but Syndra just snaps it up, throws it back, and steals it away.
They have to give the blue buff onto Graves, though, but the important thing is they're denying it from that Orianna, making sure that the pressure can still be in Wind's favor. And once his blue buff respawns shortly, that'll still be the blue buff advantage for Wuji.
That definitely is pretty important, although I do just want to say that overall they aren't actually having that much of an impact on Wuji's game. It really seems like a lot of focus is being put onto Wuji by Fireball.
I would disagree on that, because I feel like he's had to itemize first item Mercury threads to feel safe. He's not going to have any damage right now. He's going to be sitting there with no blue buff, very little damage, only with double Dorans, while his opposing mid laner sits with magic penetration boots, has the double Dorans as well, and has the pressure to be able to move around the map first, potentially making a pick with these with the penetration he's got and the massive damage he's got out of his ultimate.
Though they are actually going to be spotted down on that rotation towards the bottom lane. Wuji actually finds Wind in the jungle, and he has the magic resist to take out a lot of that damage. Lava also joins. Wuji avoids so many ultimates by just stepping to the left. That's a lot of things invested by the side of Fireball. They're actually investing some more, and PK has canceled his teleport, meaning that Fireball is going to easily win this fight and pick up 3 kills, a double kill onto Wulala.
PK acknowledging that that fight was pretty much over, had to cancel his TP. That started off with Orianna finding Wind, just face-checking a brush. Isn't able to punish fully with only the magic resistance. If she had the more damage at this point, maybe could have got a kill on Wind before she was able to respond. Ends up getting the Shen ultimate out. Wuji doesn't get the kill, but the rest of the team just gets caught out of position by the 4 members. And really nice fissure by Skull to make sure that the double taunt lands, and they get those 3 members for an easy 3 kills. And now that's a big advantage in Fireball's favor.
Yeah, honestly, that was a really confusing team fight from Raze Gaming. They stuck around way too long after the fight was already basically guaranteed to be lost, and Kawali even flashing over the wall unnecessarily to try and save his teammates.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the scene is wrong on the stream right now.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I'll fix it. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. That should be sorted. So Yeah, I want to look in at the matchup in the top lane right now because Shen has managed to pick up 3 assists for himself. That's a big spike in gold. His team has the pressure in bot side. They've been constantly pressuring towards that tower. Once they look to get that, they can rotate him towards the bot side, and really he just gets a free first couple items where he doesn't have to worry about Jarvan the Fourth so much because he doesn't end up really laning against him that often without a tower right at his back.
Yeah, though a CS lead has been developed a bit on the side of PK because he was able to push for free while that team
when
fight
Shen ulted away.
was going on. These are kind of the moments where I wish I could press X and see what the gold difference is. I think that would be really nice right now, in particular because he has those 3 assists, and it can be kind of hard to calculate who has a gold lead when one side is 20 CS up, but the other side has 3 assists.
I feel like it's rather because it's just the 10 CS. I feel like that's enough to put Ninuo at least even here in this matchup. And
that was just because Ninuo had actually pushed to the menu wave up against PK's tower. He hadn't actually farmed a wave yet.
Yeah, and now it's looking to be closer to the 15 CS mark, and Ninuo is going to be able to pick up some CS for himself under tower. So it evens out about 10 currently. So I want to quickly look towards the jungle matchup as well, as we've been talking about so far. The Graves managing to pick up 2 kills for himself ensures that his mid-game damage is going to be very big, and he's going to have to try and see if he can land those huge collateral damages that we've seen from some Graves to help really find not only picks with it, with the massive range it's got, but also just be able to put as much DPS down in a team fight as possible.
Yeah, and a nice pickup on the Cloud Drake for the side of Fireball as well. That's going to do really good things for Wulala, who's been all around the map this game, and that's really going to help the playstyle, the way he's approached this game so far.
Yeah, I'm going to look at this Ashe, though, because she's got really the potential to just have a free lane, because she has all the pressure from her team around this bot side, because they keep putting so much vision down into the enemy jungle. Oh, but Wulala, he is getting flanked out here.
Oh yeah, he is almost completely caught out. Luckily, he's able to just dash over the wall to escape. A little bit too slow of a rotation from Wuji means that Wulala is going to go unpunished for invading into the jungle here, and they might actually contest the blue buff as well.
They're still fighting here for this blue buff. The smite is available on the Graves, and of course Syndra being here, just so good at denying buffs from the opponent. And they're using that to great effectiveness. Even at the highest levels of play in Korea, I'm not seeing people properly use that Syndra other than to take their own blue buffs rather quicker, a little bit quicker. But using it to contest enemy blue buffs that much more effectively definitely shows a strong knowledge of the champion.
Yeah, Fireball being as obnoxious as humanly possible. Just walking over to that jungle on timer, especially because they were the last ones to take it. That means they have a permanent blue buff timer, which means that whenever the blue buff is coming up, as long as Syndra and Wulala are both available, they can call their bottom lane up and immediately just take away that blue, and Wuji won't be able to get it.
Look at poor Wuji right now, sitting on the Mercury threads, and only the Amp Tome in response to the Blasting Wand and, of course, the Fiendish Codex in the Inventory of Wind. It just shows you the situation that he's been in, where he's had to itemize very defensively and only just manages to get a decent amount of AP for himself. Maybe now he can start to contest the wave that he has mana to be able to do it, since he's been denied these blue buffs so often.
Yeah, although I will say that if the game is just continues to be calm and there are no more rough team fights for the side of Raze Gaming, this could actually just prove out to be beneficial for them, just because although Wuji has been under a lot of pressure this game, he hasn't died, he hasn't really given up all that much, he even has a small CS lead. So that could go well for them, although the Rift Herald is going to be given over to Fireball. Wulala is just going to solo that out. Really like to see that. I haven't seen enough people soloing the Rift Herald, even with how easy it is to take.
We did see Mountain soloing it in the last series. Obviously, he was playing Kha'Zix at the time, so he's got the empowered damage from his Qs. So there are several champions who find it really easy to solo it. Kha'Zix being one of them, Elise being another, and Graves, of course, being able to constantly dash around it. Having that close range bonus damage that he gets, really helping him too. So it's something that we don't see enough people soloing it. It takes at most 20 to 30 seconds, and it's actually more worthwhile than something like the Cloud Dragon overall, because it can help you snowball an advantage as a team. and potentially get you a good team fight where you force the enemy into responding to it.
Yeah, and also a lot of not a lot of teams are really investing vision around there, which means that when you're soloing the Rift Herald, you can get at least 15 seconds just alone time with it, because as long as they can't see you doing it and they can't see you heading towards that area, then soloing the Rift Herald is the easiest thing ever, because it's not like they're going to rotate over there to place vision right now. Teams are just not being aware enough of that area.
Definitely the case, and I want to look at all the matchups at the minute, but you can see in the top lane, the small advantage going in the favor of PK in terms of CS, still here. It's around 15 at the minute. Shen having picked up the Sunfire Cape, once he's got that Tiamat as well, he should be able to push the waves actually equally or superior to the Jarvan, as he can constantly push this in. And he's got all the taunt, so you can try and deny PK some CS, and he's just going to keep trading. Really playing rather well on this Shen, just controlling the matchup, even though it's a rather rough one for the Shen as it starts to progress further and further into the game, with the armor penetration and, of course, the Black Cleaver coming through from PK.
Yeah, and it's really easy for Nino to have control of that lane as well, because he has that vision ward just sitting in the bush to his river. That means he can see behind him. He's freed up to play aggressive, and the fact that whenever Wind leaves the lane, PK has to pay respect to the fact that he might get roamed on, just because he is a fairly squishy champion. He's not like a super tank that's not going to be able to take all of that damage on a gank, so he has to be a little bit more cautious of when Wind looks like he's roaming.
Definitely true, and is having to play quite far back. You see he's getting pushed in once again. Maybe can get the Black Cleaver off of the next back though, and then that's a big item spike where maybe he could be looking to try and pick up a kill with that ultimate, with the, of course, the Cataclysm being able to set up a gank perfectly from Laba. It would be definitely something to look out for, but the bot lane, it seems to be the point of pressure for both teams at the minute.
Yeah, and the bottom lane is definitely going to be the focus of PK as we get into the later stage of this game. He's going to want to go after that Ashe. Although I think the one problem with the Jarvan is that because that Cataclysm is so powerful, you really need to try and burn away the flash of your target before you start the team fight.
Very well using the Rift Herald to control this mid lane so effectively. And they're just going to make the opposing team have to fight the Rift Herald, have to waste their time with this, while the rest of the team can roam around, create vision, set up for potentially a pick as they all move towards this blue buff once again. All the members standing in the enemy jungle. This could be a fight coming very shortly, but no, it's just going to end up being the blue buff. Give it over to the Sivir of all people.
Yeah, they didn't really have a choice there. They'd used the smite. They were trying to give it over to Wuji, but in the end they were under too much pressure, and definitely good of Lilvi to just hit it in order to prevent it from getting taken away. But with first
I want to look at
gold,
Lilvi's cull though, because he's got a 9 CS away from having that cull completed. He is in a matchup where he needs to scale, and that's definitely going to help him. As once he picks up, for example, a Phantom Dancer as his next item, he has a really decent amount of crit. He can start clearing waves in 1W rotation, and then be really happy. As we look in the top lane,
yeah, and here's what I was talking about needing to respect that wind roam. PK is forced to flash out to escape, but PK is actually going back at him. Wuji's on the way up. The Stand United is coming through onto Wind, but a Shockwave is going to slow down that taunt from Ninuo. He's still going to be able to do it. PK is starting to get low, but Wuji is going after Wind, able to flash away from the Dark Sphere, and now Wind's completely out of mana. Wuji brings over the ball and kills him off at the dissonance. Ninuo flashes after Wuji and manages to take him out with a couple of auto attacks. Laba is on the way up, but PK is starting to get pretty low. He manages to escape under the tower, but here comes Laba. He's coming around behind Ninuo, gets the body slam off, but doesn't manage to actually knock him up. And Chance and Crystal Arrow flies through the fight, but doesn't manage to contact anybody. So it looks like it's just going to be a simple 1-for-1 in the top lane.
the field goal Ashe arrow ends up coming through. If it landed onto PK, potentially we could have seen Ninuo go hard in for that. If he gets the taunt off and then pulls in the Q, he'd have had enough damage to potentially get the kill. But with it going wide, it's just going to cause PK to back. And then that is going to be Laba having to hold the wave for him so he doesn't lose too much CS.
Yeah, and that will be the Cull Pop off from Lil V, which is really nice for him. It's going to compensate for the fact that he's losing this lane in CS. The 300 gold pop that comes off from the Cull should be enough to compensate for the CS deficit he's been running so far.
With how much pressure Wuji has taken, and like you were saying before, the fact that he's stayed alive, I feel like his lane's fine. With the amount of pressure Lil V's been taking, where he's been pushed in every time, he's fine as well as a fight starts.
Yeah,
And it looks to be over very shortly, but Lil V is just going to scale up so effectively. Once he's got, for example, Phantom Dancer, Infinity Edge, then maybe a lifesteal item, something along the lines of hopefully a Death's Dance for him. He'll be doing so much damage, and it'll be so survivable with that spell shield on top of him, that I feel as a late game carry, he's going to do 10 times more than Ashe.
Yeah,
With the utility from Salt as well.
I really like how active Fireball has been on the map, but it seems like compared to what they have invested into a lot of these ganks and a lot of what they've done on the map so far, they haven't really gotten much out of it. Very few kills, and only 4 of them, and 3 of them are just from that really bad team fight that Raze Gaming took back in the early game. And considering the scaling power of Raze Gaming, I actually like the fact that they're not losing all that hard. They're only at a 3,000 gold deficit overall, and they haven't really given up that much in terms of resources other than neutral objectives.
Yeah, Raze definitely don't need to worry so much right now, as they're not sitting in a situation where they have to really make...
This could be bad. All 5 members of Fireball are actually here in the top lane, and PK and Koala are mostly alone. Wuji rotates up to help them. Looks like it's going to be all 5 members in the top lane from both teams. Really interesting rotation. Not sure what provoked this whole exchange.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but in the end, all members coming towards the top side, potentially looking to start a team fight and take that tower. Because really, Fireball, they did get that first tower in the mid lane using the Rift Herald. But the fact that they didn't get the first tower in spite of the massive pressure they had bot lane, they haven't been able to convert a top lane tower either from their pressure. It just means that Raze Gaming are given that much more time to scale up. As you alluded to, the 4k gold lead that is now in Fireball's favor isn't really enough to win them win the game in the late game. That's maybe half an item on some of the members, and really half an item difference isn't going to make Ashe stronger than Sivir when Sivir's going to be landing those big AoE crits.
Yeah, and plus the longer this game goes on, Raze Gaming starts to have some opportunities to take away some towers. But PK might actually get dived down here in the bottom lane. Wulala has found his way behind him, and Ninuo is there as well. The Cataclysm actually comes out, so does the Stand United right onto Wulala. But now it's going to be Wulala taking the tower. He's getting pretty low. Wuji almost dies back in the jungle, but he manages to just barely survive, and he's going to be able to pick up a kill onto Wind. Fireball is going to be able to take away that bottom tower, but it might be an engage opportunity for PK. He actually goes down after not managing to knock anybody up with the Flag and Drag combo, but Koala is on the way around. He lands that death sentence on to the Graves, and a nice flash body slam comes out from Lava to finish the kill.
And they give the kill over to Wuji as well, now sitting 3-1-0, but up in the top lane, Lil V has to flash the fissure from the Braum. Fights all across the map, but it ends up coming out as a 1-for-2 in favor of Raze Gaming. They only lose, but they do lose the 2 towers in the meantime, so it ends up coming out as the trade in favor of Fireball. But giving that scaling advantage towards Raze Gaming, as you see the Shockwave just catch up Wind long enough for Laba and Koala being able to get the kill. Wuji barely surviving the Ignite, having to use that shield on himself. But really, what Raze Gaming should be doing is they don't have to worry too much about giving over the towers, as that's just standing gold on the map right now. Once they start to scale up and get some more items themselves, if they get kills over towers, they can get those towers in response, because they should have the push in the late game. They should have the team fight priority in the late game between the Jarvan and the Gragas. And it's just a case of engaging through the Shen ultimate is going to be the problem for them.
Yeah, and honestly, I would say that things are actually starting to look a little bit rough for Fireball, because one bad team fight right now will send Wuji into a ridiculous lead. He already has 3 kills. That's plenty of gold onto him, and Lil V as well is not all that far behind. A team fight could still very easily be won in the current game state for Fireball, and because they've been so active on the map, they aren't going to have as good of a late game team fight as Raze Gaming is going to have. But now here, they're around the dragon. It looks like Raze Gaming is going to finally be able to contest one, and it looks like they'll actually be able to pick up this Ocean Drake for basically free. Only a collateral damage launched by Wulala in the end.
And that's definitely good for Raze Gaming. Being able to pick up a dragon just deny the potential of getting pressured out of a late game Elder Drake, and then them using that to win the game. As we mentioned multiple times, their team fight in the late game isn't as good as Raze Gaming's. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if we get into those late game team fights, as we see Lil V just get stronger and stronger. Roughly 420 damage crits onto the red buff right now. Got that blaze buff on himself.
Yeah, and it is nice, however, of Fireball to know that they should be respecting Raze Gaming as a group right now. Individually, they're not very strong, but as a team, that shockwave and the fact that you can combo it with Lil V's ricochets and, of course, just PK getting onto the backline, it's good to see that they're respecting the fact that they could very easily lose a team fight right now. And if they do lose a team fight, if Fireball starts to lose pressure, I think they will almost definitively lose the game. Like, if they fall behind at this point, they will lose. Just off of the sheer fact that they haven't really been able to get much off of their early game pressure. Which means they need to start, getting it now. They need to start pushing in these towers before they fall off.
I definitely agree. Fireball needed to try and snowball the game with this composition, and they didn't snowball the game hard enough. They managed to put a lot of pressure onto multiple members, but nothing came of that pressure. And now Raze Gaming is just going to continue to scale up. But we're seeing now potentially a pick in the jungle with the Ash Arrow landing.
Yep, it's going to get onto Laba. Laba hasn't actually gone down yet. The Stand United comes through onto Wulala. He's on the front line now, but Laba is still not dead. And here comes PK onto the back line looking for Wulala. Wulala manages to survive. Koala pulls Skull in with a death sentence. He's really low. He actually gets taken out by the Shockwave. That should be the end of the fight for Raze Gaming. But overall, Wuji just managed to pick up one kill, but now he's starting to get really, really fed.
And now Wulala's going low. They can't really afford to start up this Baron here. He ends up taking a couple hits from it. That's going to force him low enough to the point where he needs to be worried about starting up this Baron. They can't do it. They have to back off. All they need to do is try and contest the vision control for now and make sure they don't give up any more picks. You see the fight start here. The Ash Arrow lands, but it lands onto Laba, not the priority target, and he's just tanky enough to survive it up. The exhaust does come down to Lil V, so he just doesn't prioritize auto-attacking. Prioritizes backing off, and PK managed to zone off Wulala massively and force the team fight to be on two different fronts, and Skull just too far forward ends up getting caught out by the Shockwave, and that's going to be the end of the team fight with a 1-for-0 pick, and it completely dissuades any pressure Fireball had around the Baron pit.
Yeah, and the thing is, Fireball needs a man advantage to win the fight, and they didn't really have it there. They need to have that one man up, but because they didn't actually manage to get the kill off of the Ash Arrow, that's suddenly a lot of their pressure down, and they can't really win a straight up 5v5 anymore, not reliably at least.
Definitely doesn't look great for them, because really the kills are on the Graves, and he's not got that much significant damage at this point in the game. For him really to be the big damage threat that you've seen in the early parts of the mid game, it's really, you need to see him build something like a Phantom Dancer and get some crit damage on himself, then he can start to contest in these late game team fights. Up until that point, it's just looking really risky for him, as he's sitting on just the Guardian Angel to keep himself safe. No Black Cleaver like we normally see for them, instead going for the Yomu's Ghostblade, which I completely disagree with. Only having that much lethality isn't enough, and especially since he's not really getting on top of squishy members, he's always having the damage blocked by either Brom or Shen. The Black Cleaver is so much better, and it makes him that much more tanky.
Yeah, though, they really need to make picks now. They can't, because you saw what they did, at that team fight. A lot of Raze Gaming's gold is onto one of the strongest AoE champions in the game. And like I said, they can't win a team fight reliably without a man advantage anymore, so they need to make that pick. They need to force that 4v5 in order to win.
But unfortunately for Graves, it just means he can't get anywhere near where he needs to be in a team fight because he'll be bursted far too quickly. So he can't get on one of these priority targets that he needs to burst. So in the end, it's the opposite of a self-fulfilling prophecy. By building more damage to burst a squishy target, he makes himself squishy and then can't burst the squishy target because he can't get to them.
Indeed, he can't, but a lot of Fireball focus is starting to go around these neutral monsters. They really seem to want to take the Baron, but oh my goodness. Wulala, every single time he steps into that Baron pit, he ends up taking quite a bit of damage.
And again, just chunked out so easily, and that might actually force him to have to go back to base shortly if he's not careful.
Looks like another blue buff will be taken away by Fireball, but at this point, I think Wuji can handle that. He's gotten plenty of AP items now, plenty of mana regeneration coming out through the Morellonomicon. He's in a pretty good state right now, and I really gotta say, Fireball starting up this Baron would be an incredibly risky proposition, even if they did have vision control, because the second Wuji walks over there and deploys that Shockwave, you're gonna lose that Baron fight instantly.
It definitely seems to be the case, so they have to try and disengage onto the first member that shows up and try and get a pick on them. Otherwise, it looks really rough. As you're seeing Lil V just do more and more damage. Potentially, that's going to be the Infinity Edge next item coming out for him. And that's going to be devastating to any hope Fireball have of winning a team fight, as they can't get on top of him to kill him. They don't have any members other than the Syndra who would have the ability to kill him.
Yeah,
and that's really unfortunate.
Definitely very little backline dive from the side of Fireball, and I think Raze Gaming actually has a decent amount of control in this situation too, because even if Fireball establishes vision control over the Baron, Raze Gaming knows that they can play very, very carefully in this situation because there's not much chance of them doing it, but Koala actually manages to step a little bit too far forward, but is it a bait because Lava has already started to engage onto Skull, and the Stand United has to be burned to protect him.
And that's just going to be the disengage, knowing that they burned the Stand United for the teleport. That's going to be one global each, and the Shen still has the advantage, so they can afford to back off and try and make a play again soon if they have Shen available in the side lane, and he can TP in, and PK just simply can't.
Yeah, although PK has managed to stay with his team for a vast majority of the time, so it doesn't really seem to be a problem for him. Meanwhile, Raze Gaming knows that it would be very, very risky for Fireball to do the Baron just because they can't really win that team fight. And it means that they can play very carefully around scouting the Baron when Fireball does manage to clear it out. And now that's actually given them mid-priority.
Yeah, having that mid-priority, especially like we were mentioning earlier, the push available from the Orianna and Sivir, just means they can get a bit of chip damage on this tower, but I feel like they need to be forcing down mid lane here, as the TP advantage not in their favor. If Shen just sits in a side lane, there's nothing they can do. They have to send somebody there who can deal with him, but then they can't TP away and Shen can, so they can make cross-map plays. So forcing down mid lane is definitely the right call here. Force the side lane pressure to stay with his team, otherwise they could end up losing a tower.
Although Willala is going to manage to cut off from the fight here and pick up the second Drake, Ocean Drake of the game for Fireball. That will only really extend this game if they start to fall behind, to be honest. Like, it's really difficult for either Raze Gaming or Fireball to siege right now. Raze Gaming because they don't really have all that much range unless Orianna is able to stand very far to the front. And so it makes it difficult for them to siege, but now even if Wuji manages to get under that tower, starts knocking damage onto Fireball, it's going to be very hard to dissuade them away from the tower because you can only really send one person away, and then because of that double Ocean Drake that is on Fireball, they're going to be able to get right back in without needing to recall.
I like this, actually. You were seeing the Shen picked up the Abyssal Mask for himself to amplify the damage of that Syndra. He doesn't have all that magic damage himself, besides the magic damage aura from the Sunfire Cape. So he's bought that purely to help out the Syndra.
Ooh.
And that's going to be team fight damage for him. But as we're seeing him win a fight against PK, but now Lil V showed up.
Raze Gaming has caught off a lot of their members towards the bottom side, towards Ninuo. That is a signal to Fireball to start up this Baron, and Koala, Wuji, and Laba are the only ones here to stop it. Wuji, though, he launches his ball into the pit. It is going to be a shockwave. Laba comes in and he steals the Baron! Now Skull! And he almost manages to get away, but PK has actually arrived, and he jumps onto the backline with his Cataclysm. Everybody manages to flash out of it, but now Raze Gaming are still looking for a fight. They have split Ninuo off onto the side, but they really have to be careful of him coming back in. This is a 4v5. Just keep that in mind. Wind and Skull are pretty low on the backline, though. It looks like we're going to have a lot of focus on Ninuo. A heal actually comes through, keeping PK alive. Lil V actually gets hit by the Dark Sphere. It does a lot of damage, but Lala, it's going to get his GA popped after Lil V finds him in the jungle and launches out 3 auto attacks. This is still a 4v5.
Behind the towers.
They're behind the tower, but Wuji actually manages to finish off Wulala, and that brings this into a 4v4. The minions are actually coming up on the other side. Raze Gaming is still looking to pressure, looking to finish the fight. They go in onto Wind. Wuji takes another kill. PK is going to die for the dive, but now that's a shockwave coming in from Wuji. The fight is long enough, and that means Raze Gaming with an ace and 3 members still left alive. They have a free push in the top lane and a Baron buff.
That was such a weird fight. There was constantly engage and disengage. They all thought they could win, with all the members being low on the side of Raze Gaming, but at the same time, they knew they had the team fight advantage with the Orianna, with the Sivir, as we see the replay of Laba being able to steal that crucial Baron. We saw the Cataclysm come through, but this is going to be too long a replay, surely. They can't run the entirety of this fight. As we see, Ninuo just ends up off on the side. Wulala tries to help him, but in the end only ensures his death as he's stuck on the other side with all 4 members of Raze Gaming. And he ends up taking that crit to the face, which causes him to go down. They do back off under this tower, but as you were saying, the minion wave slowly collapses in, which gives Raze Gaming the opportunity to pick up the kill. And that was Wuji picking off Wulala. But this is where it all starts going absolutely crazy. They wait for that minion wave to collapse in. Then there comes all of the engage from PK. PK does end up going down, but the Thresh Hook, the Shockwave, everything goes in the favor of Raze Gaming. And they get a couple towers for themselves. And all of that advantage that had been built up all game by Fireball is all but negated, as the gold lead is now just 600.
Yeah, and that fight was so long, the Shockwave actually came back up after being fired off in the beginning to try and contest the Baron. But I didn't really think that was a really a good team fight from Fireball. Like, what were they doing splitting up like that? They split themselves. They had a man advantage. They had 5v4, but then they split Ninuo off into the jungle, and then Wulala actually comes over the wall, breaking them into very digestible units for Raze Gaming, and that meant they were able to just dive that tower very safely. It was really, really poor of Fireball to not try and just fight back.
Fireball now in easily digestible chunks. As we're seeing, just towers being sieged up so easily, as you can't really walk into an Orianna when she's sieging up with Baron buff, because she can just happily set up the ball behind the tower. You can't get anywhere near it, or the big shockwave could come through. And if he lands one onto Unified right now, that could just end the game.
Yeah, Wuji has tons of pressure right now. If they want to win a team fight now, they have to kill him. But he's got so much range. He can sit so far in the backline, and he is still going to be a win. And getting to him is also incredibly difficult because you have to walk past the ball in order to do that.
The replay was so long that the Baron buff has already expired from Raze Gaming. And we see in the top lane, the Shen is almost about to take down this tier 2. And this is really a not great play, as they've just allowed Shen to happily take this, and he's got enough time to be able to tank this up.
Oh, it looks like he's not going to do it, though. PK actually locks him up with the Cataclysm. He is still in tower range, but he is taking, like, no damage at all. This is going to be a straight-up fight. But actually, he uses the Stand United to escape the fight.
Worried he was going to get collapsed on there as more members disappeared off of the map for Raze Gaming. Smart call for him to back off. And that does mean that the tower doesn't die for now. But Fireball just can't seem to get anything back in the game. They can't get their foot in the door. And nothing seems to be happening for them.
Well, I did say a really long time ago that if Fireball lost the advantage, they really wouldn't be able to win this game. They do not have the tools.
Alright, we get it, Prophet Novum, come on.
They don't have the tools, I think, to come back here. Like I said, this is a composition very much built around counter-engage, except Raze Gaming is now so powerful in the team fight that even with the there's no reason to counter-engage because you're going to just lose that fight straight up.
I feel like part of the problem was they started building a counter-engage composition, but then they went half into pick. They went for the Ashe AD carry. They went for the Syndra. And those two really tell me that they want to build a pick composition, whereas at the same time they've gone for the Shen. Those are opposite. Those champions have completely opposite ideas of what they want to be doing. The Ashe wants to try and make a big play and get her team to start a team fight, whereas Shen wants to be engaged on.
Yeah, Raze Gaming manages to get a mid-priority back. They run it down with 3.
Oh, Shockwave!
Fireball is so far back. Shockwave? Where?
It was used already. It was caught onto 2 members.
No, there it is.
In the Cataclysm. I'm not sure if for some reason
you are way ahead of me.
Desynced.
Yeah, you
It's
are way
become
ahead of
these
me,
things somehow.
and now Fireball is actually winning the team fight. They've
Yeah.
taken out Lava and PK. Now they're trying to engage into Wuji. Wuji is still alive. He's running away. He's still there. He uses the shield to protect him from the damage of the smoke screen. Koala is the one left on the front line, and it looks like Raze Gaming actually, oh, that was really badly positioned from them. They're going to all go down. Wuji and Lil V are going to remain alive, however, so I don't see if there's much that Fireball can get back in return.
PK went in with the ultimate, the
gonna get the
shockwave
ultimate.
lands, but so little damage was done from it that unfortunately it did mean that the team fight did not go in their favor. They funneled so much damage onto the tankiest members, hitting Shen and Brom, I believe, with that shockwave, and then that was pretty much it for the team fight. They just got kited back on, and it just, the shockwave, it just hit Skull, and the DPS from Mulala, the DPS from Unified, just turned this fight around. And to be honest, rather than this being a great play from Fireball, it feels like it's a misplay from Raze Gaming.
Yeah, I have to agree, especially because they weren't able to get at all onto the backline, and that's where they've been successful thus far. Fighting in that choke point should have been really good for them, but dropping the shockwave so early in the fight really depleted Wuji's ability to pressure, and PK was not able to jump onto the backline and force them away from, just make them step back so they're not able to just straight up just stand there and DPS the front line of Raze Gaming.
I'm going to pause at 41 minutes, and I'll go for 41 minutes and 5, because I missed the 41 mark.
Okay, 41
And
and
tell me when you're there, and I'll play again.
Okay.
But looking at this now, the Graves 6-2 and 2. He has got that crit damage that I alluded to earlier.
3,
he has got the Black
2,
Cleaver now for himself.
1, play.
That's great. He has got the Black Cleaver for himself. He has got
engage.
the crit damage now, and that's going to be a lot for him. Wulala caught out by a hook though. Nothing's going to come of it. He's just ults away. The team's really happy now as they've managed to get the Elder Dragon for themselves, and the massive amount of burn they've got on auto attacks means that they can potentially win a team fight, even against the comp where they shouldn't really be beating them in team fights.
Yeah, and you do still have Ninuo pushing up in the bottom lane. He's still got about a minute before he can reach that inhibitor tower. So as long as Fireball actually just keeps Raze Gaming around this area, although they actually decide not to, I think they could have really freed up pressure for Ninuo if they just stay around the Baron. Keep up the vision control, keep up the pressure, and make sure that nobody can rotate down to stop Ninuo. Just keep pressuring this Baron. That's what I think is the right move in this situation. And they're actually going to start it up. Raze Gaming can't see this just yet. The control ward in the pit is preventing them from doing that. The blasting gun is going to be popped from wind to make sure nobody can ride that into pit. The Baron is starting to go pretty low. Lava is forced to use his body slam to avoid the enchanted crystal arrow, and that means the Baron is going to go over to Fireball.
And in this game where we've been saying for the entire time that Fireball didn't have the tools to get back into the game if they fall behind, they get this Elder Dragon as their win condition after getting one team fight where Raze Gaming misplay, and they use that to secure a Baron buff for themselves. Now that they could have the potential to be able to find a foothold back in this game, sitting at a 4k gold lead, they'll be able to try and siege up the towers with their longer range composition, of course with the double AD carries able to take down towers even quicker, utilize the Shen in the side lane, and then potentially be able to just win the fight by win the game by getting a good siege and potentially just denying Raze Gaming any good team fights.
Yeah, a very huge misplay from Raze Gaming, but at the same time, unless Fireball manages to get a play where they pick off somebody and take an inhibitor tower off of that, I don't think there's much they can do to actually win the game right now. There's so much wave clear on Raze Gaming.
Definitely that can be seen as true, but looking at the 1-3-1 composition they're running here, putting Graves in the top lane, sieging up the mid lane, they've already got one tower. They could potentially look to get this tower top lane as well, and the Shen's in the bot lane,
Oh, this is a slow
looking
rotation.
to siege up as well.
Yeah, Raze Gaming, they might be looking to engage. The On the Hunt is popped, but looks like the wave will just be cleared. Ninuo is still pushing in the bottom lane. There's a lot of split pressure coming down. They're going to have to throw Lil V or Wuji into another lane, or just engage on Fireball right here. Here comes the Shockwave! Ulala gets pulled onto the front. His GA is popped. Koala looking for that hook to finish him off. They actually jump over the wall, and Wuji takes him out. Ninuo is still pushing in the bottom lane, but PK is there to prevent any push from him.
And we said when they had to deny them a good team fight that he gets caught out by the Shockwave, a little bit positioned too far forward, greeding for tower damage, and that is going to cost them their biggest member. And now they're 5v4 on the map. All they have is this Baron buff with the Elder Dragon worn off. You can have a Raze Gaming just sieging up down mid lane now.
Yeah, PK is on the way over too. He doesn't even need to use his teleport to get back to his team. And that means he can counter any push in the bottom lane coming out from Ninuo, so he has to stay here in the middle lane.
Definitely the case. As you can see, the wave clear you alluded to is coming up so big for the Sivir, just managing to take down these Baron buffs. Baron buff minions like they're nothing. And we're seeing the 6 towers to 5 of Raze Gaming come into favor, where they can actually just start pushing the wave so far up and then back off, and they just have a lot of pressure when they get rolling. But unfortunately, they did fall behind from that team fight before this, so they're still trying to get themselves in a position where they can look for another big team fight, where they can look for a good siege. Because right now, unfortunately, they're just trying to deny as much of the Baron buff in terms of timer as possible.
Yeah, wave clear is a very good cover for making a huge mistake, like what Raze Gaming did by taking such a terrible fight. No, they have so much wave clear. It makes it really, really hard for Fireball to actually push into Raze Gaming's base. They need to take an inhibitor tower in order to open something up, but there's so much wave clear. Even when they had the Baron, they weren't able to break that top tower.
Definitely, they got very close to taking it down, but now that tower's still regenning. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to get there anytime soon. So all the pressure they exerted onto that top tower is going to be absolutely wasted right now.
Yeah,
as you can see, Raze Gaming pushing into the jungle.
All that health on the top tower is just going to be regenerated over time, and before the next Baron comes up. They need the Baron to push into the base against this much wave clear. But even when they did have the Baron, they weren't able to break that tower because a little V, a nice secret thing that they have that really helps their base defense is a lot of movement speed spells. They have Wuji's W, and more importantly, they have the Thrill, On the Hunt that comes out from Lil V. He really helped them rotate really fast to defend the top tower. And because Lil V has so much wave clear with his Ricochet, he managed to clear out the entire wave of caster minions on the Baron wave. And that
I'm gonna take a minute to stroke my ego here, as I called the entire of Lil V's build earlier on. I said he was gonna. The only thing I didn't call was the Last Whisper, as I didn't end up calling a 6th item. But the Death's Dance, Infinity Edge, Essence Reaver, Phantom Dancer, and of course those Ninja Tabi coming through for him. He's going to be doing a lot of damage, and that 30% damage reduction you get from the Death's Dance as a bleed over time is going to be so useful to him just to keep him alive and stop him from getting bursted instantly by something like the Syndra ultimate. Of course, he's got the damage reduction from the Phantom Dancer as well, and the damage reduction from the Ninja Tabi. It doesn't seem like anybody will be able to do enough damage to just instantly burst him.
Yeah, I really like that Raze Gaming is taking this patiently. There's no reason for them to rush. They have a very easy win in their hands here. They can wait for a safe pick, wait for the Baron to come back up before they actually push into the space. Because in terms of wave clear, Fireball doesn't even start to compare against them.
Yeah, Fireball just don't really have the same pressure that Raze Gaming do, just with composition. So Raze Gaming really, I feel like they're just waiting for another Baron buff to be able to close this out. But the Ash Arrow comes through.
Yeah,
oh, nice!
Everybody is gonna get out of here. Just a nice ride on the Dark Passage over to the Blasting Cone. Gonna get Raze Gaming out of a potentially bad position. It was especially bad because Lil V had actually just finished recalling when that engage came through, but luckily they're gonna be fine. The Baron isn't up yet either, so Fireball can't take advantage of that pressure in order to take it, but they are gonna take advantage of it in order to secure vision control again.
Yeah, getting pressure in onto this Baron pit a minute before it spawns, getting those pink wards down, trying to deny any waves that, any wards that are already there for Raze Gaming, and just utilizing the delaying of the base to do so. Very useful for them. You see Laba just trying to find out if anybody's there. He has to play so safe, not knowing where anyone is, and seeing that ward sitting there just by the river brush. He knows that they're sitting in there waiting for a pick.
So, something I want to say is that I think Fireball having control of the Baron in terms of vision, it actually might be a little bit good for Raze Gaming in that it really gives Fireball the confidence in order to try and take it. And I think that could end very, very badly for Fireball in the current state of events. If they don't manage to block that ball from getting into a good position in the pit, they could just lose the game straight off of taking the Baron. Except they need the Baron to win at the same time. So
the last time they had so much denial to stop Laba from getting into the pit, earlier on in the game, and at the same time with the Ash Arrow miss, the Syndra E didn't land, and nobody went over the wall to stop him. So he ended up just coming into the pit happily, and then he used his ultimate on top of the smite to be able to secure it. And they can't let that sort of thing happen again. They have to use that Seat of the Week. They have to use the Ash ult to stop him from being able to get anywhere near the pit. And now, due to the mid lane pressure, they're going to use that to try and clear their own vision. And Raze Gaming getting towards this Baron buff.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to take it. They're too split apart for now,
Yeah.
but they might be looking for an engage. Wind is
Oh,
pretty
Wind
damn
went
low.
He got hit by a shockwave.
Oh, a Dice 2-man body slam! Well, Unified actually gets pushed into the front of the fight. He's forced to flash away. Lava's on the front line now. The Redemption comes through to help them. A Cataclysm comes onto the back line. Unified no longer has a flash. He can't escape, and everybody is clunching onto the back line. Unified goes down. Raze Gaming is going to win the team fight. Wulala is the last one left. He has his GA. Lil V is going to go after him, though. He's not going to be able to finish the kill, but that doesn't matter. Wulala is irrelevant. Raze Gaming has won this game as they open up this best of 3 with a 50-minute long epic victory.
And the team fight started just after Wuji had managed to catch out the Syndra with the shockwave. Wind was so low he couldn't step forward, and the team fight went absolutely devastatingly bad because of that. The rest of the team managed to play around it so well. They knew that that was their moment. They knew with the Syndra low, all of the DPS was gone. They take their chance, and they end the game convincingly there with a really good 4-0 team fight.
Yeah, it was really just that in the end of the game, like we said, Fireball just did not have the tools to win. Even when they managed to secure an advantage, it was really easy for Raze Gaming to take advantage of the fact that they have so much wave clear and so much late game damage that they could hold on anyway, even against the Baron buff.
Definitely really good from them. I'm liking the amount of pressure that they managed to exert with the Sivir pick. It's not a pick we've seen that often, but it was able to hold lane against the Ashe. She didn't lose her tower early, and then she was able to contest push late and use the late game engage of her team to be able to win the game.
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem here for Fireball is that in the early game, they managed to exercise a lot of pressure, but they didn't actually get much out of any of that. Like, they managed to pick up a kill here and there, they managed to pick up an early teamfight win, but in other than neutral objectives and a couple stolen blue buffs, what did they actually manage to get off of all of this early pressure? Nothing.
And definitely, you saw Wind be able to have all the blue buffs given to him. I don't think Wuji got a single blue buff that entire game.
And yet,
until like really late in the game, at least it took at least 30 minutes until he got his first blue buff. And with all that pressure denied for Wuji, all that pressure applied to Wuji, you would have expected Wind to be able to win that matchup, considering it's a push matchup anyway. And we never saw it come to fruition.
Yeah, he never got any solo kills, and he never even secured the CS lead. Wuji had it the entire game. Even though he was getting pressured out, even though they ganked him and forced him back to base at least 2 times, Wuji never fell behind in creeps. And that is a huge problem, especially when so much of that early game is focused on the middle lane. Like Wulala, he was there. He wanted to get that first blood onto Wuji, but Wuji managed to survive that gank. And for that reason, I definitely gotta say he was the strongest player this game. Wuji was a monster.
I can definitely agree with you. Wuji played really well, but going back to, again, I was just really surprised by this Sivir pick. It's not it's not something we've seen anybody playing in the current meta whatsoever, is it? And I can imagine now with the changes to the Essence Reaver, with the changes to Infinity Edge, buffing their AD, lowering their cost, we can see more ADCs like this coming back. ADC diversity is so good right now because you've got the Blade of the Rune King available, and you've got these crit builds starting to creep back in. They're rising in strength at the same time.
Yeah, we've got this pick ban overlay here, so I actually want to talk a little bit about this. A lot of bans onto very proactive champions, and Fireball didn't actually pick one up. They put that Graves in their jungle, and it just feels like that was the last thing available to them with the Lee Sin taken away. I really would have liked to see them, considering the playstyle they used in the game, pick up a more proactive jungler that has a bit more crowd control in order to ensure that when you get around the map with this composition, you can actually get something when you gank somebody.
I don't even think it's necessarily crowd control that they needed. For example, a Kha'Zix's pick would have probably have been very good for them.
He has a slow.
It's just yeah, Kha'Zix at least has a slow. But the imagine the Kha'Zix jumping in onto the Orianna trying to pressure her out, forcing her to blow a flash or something like that, being able to follow up better on these engages with Ash Arrow, you'd have more of a composition that wants to engage.
Yeah, and that was definitely also a big problem for the side of Fireball. They had no backline pressure at all. They picked a composition that was very frontline focused. They picked a lot of that counter engage where they when they got engaged on, they would have a lot to throw back. But because of that, they weren't ever able to get onto the backline. They applied very little pressure to Lil V and Wuji, and considering how strong Wuji got after the beginning of this game and how important he was to Raze Gaming winning a team fight, it was very bad. There's that fight towards the end of the game that really, I think, showed off this. Fireball actually managed to win a team fight because of a shockwave from Wuji actually just used onto the tanks. With that shockwave down, with Wuji not able to exercise pressure, it was actually possible for the side of Fireball to start getting onto the backline while also protecting their own.
Yeah, it was definitely a very good game from Raze Gaming. They clearly had their team comp. Clearly had a team comp in mind, what they wanted to do with it, and they played it to perfection. They played safe in the early game and used their stronger late game to roll over Fireball.
Yeah,
it's very effective from them, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring out in Game 2.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate how much patience they have, but hopefully you'll also have some patience too, because we'll be taking a quick break before we get over to Game 2. Should be an exciting one as we see, but don't leave those seats. We'll be right back.
Look into my eyes and show me your adventures I haven't seen. Taking all the life, it hits the spot. Walking on fantasy. So take me, baby, take me to a state of mind that's made of, baby, that's made of all that we find. Test the waters, oh, it's hard. I think we're getting close. Racing through the waves, I want to be where nobody knows. So take me, baby, take me to a state of mind that's made of, baby, that's made of all that we find. Electric, feel it in your hands. Hypnotic, watch your body stand. Happiness, this is where we stand.
trace of the night on the way back down from the sky where you left my soul. Can you help me fly? I can't resist, 'cause you have got a hold on me. And all these thoughts, when you are here, you light up the dark sides. To live in the night shine, you take my life and light every side. You fade the dark inside. The living light shines. And the feeling's gone and I am left alone with a trace of the night on the way back down from the sky where you left my soul. Can you help me fly? I can't resist, 'cause you have got a hold on me. And all these thoughts, when you are here, you light up the dark sides. To live in the night shine, you take my life and light every side. You fade the dark inside. The living light shines.
Hello everybody, I am Nico Novell, and I am here tonight with Stortson McLeod to bring you the 2017 League of Legends Master Series. We're going to be going into Game 2 of Fireball versus Raze Gaming very soon. How are you doing, Sin?
Doing good. Coming off of that last game, Raze Gaming were playing really a late game scaling composition, so they are happy to give up the early game to Fireball, knowing that they could scale. And to be honest, I say they gave up the early game. They survived so well. We saw Wuji taking us so much pressure. He basically didn't get a blue buff until 30 minutes, and yet he still managed to keep up on CS. He still managed to keep up on pressure. And that just led to them winning the game, and he finished 8-2-7. Really strong play from him. We hope to see that continue into game 2.
Yeah, and honestly, if Raze Gaming had actually managed to avoid that really bad team fight they ended up in the beginning of the game, I think they would have won that game a lot sooner. But we are going to be getting into picks and bans here. Raze Gaming is now on the blue side. That opens up a lot of opportunities for them. I want to see if Fireball decides to ban out PK Sejuani again, because I'd honestly just love to see that again. It was very fun to watch.
But the side of Raze Gaming, they're banning out the Elise and the Rumble top lane. Not wanting to give the Rumble over to Ninuo. But now Fireball are on red side. They do have to ban that Zac. They did ban the Caitlyn last time, so we'll see if they leave it up again. And they also banned the Ivern, so this means Ivern is now available for Laba.
Yeah, definitely good, smart Fireball to decide to ban out the Galio over the Sejuani, because we saw how much of an impact that full tank comp can have on Raze Gaming. They were actually the first ones, I think, in the entire world to run a Galio mid comp with just full tanks for protect the AD carry. I haven't actually seen that from anyone else yet. It didn't work very well because, but they adapted very well in the second game into a different champion. It worked really, really well.
The thing I'm looking forward to, I hope it's going to come out sometime soon. I think it will come out sometime soon. Is Galio mid, a tank top lane, a tankier jungler that still has a fair amount of damage. Even you could go the Jarvan in the top lane.
Yep.
Support with shields, and then Vayne, because crit items have become so much more effective, and it just gives Vayne the space to become that late game hyper carry for you. I think I'm looking forward to seeing something like that. It could come along eventually.
Yeah, I'd really love to see something like that too. What Raze Gaming did to adapt their composition when they went into game 2 against Machi 17 is that they actually, instead of throwing in a couple of shields, because in the first game they didn't have any shields, and it put Lil V under a lot of pressure to position just perfectly in order to win the game. Instead, they actually just shifted a little bit more damage onto their mid lane over the tank, but I think they build very interesting compositions, and I'd always love to see it again. But it looks like they're having a lot of priority on this Orianna, which makes complete sense considering how much Wuji dominated the early game.
And Wind, with that Syndra gone, is going to pick the Victor into it. Something that does have a fair amount of wave clear. You can try and turtle the game around, but the Victor, not particularly seen as one of the top mid laners in the meta currently.
Yeah, honestly, I'm incredibly surprised to see Fireball put so much priority into picking him in their first rotation when so many junglers and top laners are available and they pick Victor. It's not like Raze Gaming is going to take that one away. They've already taken the Orianna. And also another interesting one, Callista picked up by Fireball. I understand why they picked this one up, because in the second draft ban phase, then yeah, that was probably going to get banned out by Raze Gaming. But this Victor is just... what?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Victor was ever going to be banned here, so picking it there just means that they can ban out your jungle pool, they can ban out your, potentially your top pool as well, as you see the Lee Sin banned away, and they do ban that Sejuani and the Caitlyn, so all the ADCs do end up banned regardless. And then finally, they ban Ivern themselves. That basically cements that this Gragas is going to be going to the top lane.
Yeah, why, actually?
Sorry, Gragas is going to be going to the jungle role.
Yeah. It'll be definitely interesting. Probably gonna see like a Shen out of Raze Gaming, I anticipate, for the top lane. And then they still haven't picked their AD carry. They have very few. There are only 2 AD carries have been banned so far, and it's not like they were ever gonna pick Callista. That seems to be a very unified, specific pick.
Varus is still available into the Caitlyn. Into the Callista. There's still plenty of things available. Or there's the one thing that's considered a mild Callista counter, something that has been played a ton in solo queue but 0 in competitive. I'll give you a hint. It starts with D and ends in Raven.
Wait, do they have just the exact same comp that they had last game?
Yes, it seems that way so far. But do they lock in the Varus here? It seems like the most meta AD carry to lock in. But I would like them to see them go for something that's got a bit more late game scaling. It's literally the same comp as last game, except instead of the Sivir, they've got this Varus.
Yeah, which I actually like. It gives them a bit more of a consistent damage source that Sivir isn't really able to provide. And
Not the Shen, come on.
So Fireball actually decided to switch up a little bit themselves. They've gone for this time the Kha'Zix instead of the Graves. I like this because they did put out a lot of really good pressure in the early game last game, and it's just that they didn't have any finishing potential from the jungle or any crowd control. I think Kha'Zix provides both of those things for them, so it'll be really good if Ulala is able to pressure the map early again, because he did show a great ability to do that in the first game.
So I'm looking at the Thresh Kalista right now. Very strong bot lane. This has been seen as the primary bot lane matchup for Kalista to be picked with. And we'll see if they are able to pressure out this Varus, and of course the Braum as well. Having the double range into the Braum is generally seen as a negative thing for the Braum. However, since it's just Thresh, it shouldn't be too punishing. And we'll see if Lil V can use that poke to be able to pressure him out. But the thing is, I'm seeing a much different style from Fireball here, where they've gone for these sort of mid-game power spikes and late-game power spikes as well. So looking at the Victor, who has a ton of late-game damage, looking at the Kalista, who has a ton of late-game damage, but Victor's also pretty good in the mid-game. Kha'Zix is pretty good in the mid-game. So I'm seeing an adaptation of what they're going to go for here. In sort of mid-game engages, they can have Kha'Zix going in with the Shen ult on top of him. In the late game, they can have Kha'Zix going in, and then the Shen ult will most likely be used on Kalista to keep her alive if something like a Shockwave is targeting her. I
have to say though, I really don't like the Victor. I think it does have a really good late game, but not as good of a late game as Orianna. Not even close. And they picked it up so early in their draft too, which locked them out of a lot of really powerful like alternative picks. But we are going to be getting out onto the Rift for game 2.
The one thing I would disagree with you there on is the fact that I understand, I can completely agree with you that Orianna overall is stronger, but Victor is crutched less on his ultimate. So he has more consistent DPS over time, some consistent sustained damage that he can constantly churn out between the death lasers and the Qs, and the gravity field to give some control as well. And that's where Victor, I feel, will shine if they can get a fight where Orianna Shockwave does go astray, like we saw last game.
Yeah, so obviously the more interesting one is how do you expect this Kalista to perform in lane, in the game, overall? What do you expect?
I feel like she could end up getting poked out by Varus Qs, but because of the Thresh Kalista matchup, I feel like she's gonna be fairly fine. She's gonna be trying to hop out the way of those arrows and just focus on being able to try and push in, because I feel like normally this matchup, if you look at the AD carries only, is favored towards Varus, but the lanes themselves, I think Kalista can win this lane. But it's just a case of how will they play it out. The thing I do love about Kalista as well is it makes Skull that much more safe. He has the ultimate available at level 6, so he can afford to go in and face check aggressively, then have himself ulted away. It changes the way the bot lane plays, and it really generally gives what I'd consider a worse support a much easier chance to win the game.
Yeah, and I also like just the really good trading potential that Kalista has, thanks to her her W, especially with Thresh, because Thresh is has pretty decent range for tank support. He's able to just like auto attack somebody at some pretty extreme range, set up that mark for Unified to pop it off. But an interesting thing going on the other side of the map for the AD carry is the fact that Luvi actually decided to go for Warlords instead of Fervor. When you traditionally see the Fervor with the Varus just because of his excellent attack speed passive.
Yeah, the Warlord's Bloodlust is something we've been seeing more and more on ADCs that just need to sustain. We see it on Caitlyn, especially in the late game when she is able to get the crit damage and heal up massive amounts. So what I'm expecting from the Varus here is something along the lines of the Runan's Hurricane, as well as the Blade of the Rune King and Infinity Edge, so that he can make use of this crit bonus damage he gets, a crit bonus health regen he gets from the Warlord's Bloodlust.
Yeah, pretty standard build, although something that isn't standard is Wulala actually started on the blue buff of Ray's gaming side. He manages to take it away, and that's probably going to signify a 3-buff start for him. That's pretty rough for Lava too, especially because Gragas is pretty reliant on mana, so that blue buff would have been really good for him, but it's gone now.
Yeah, I believe he's spotted that out, so now he's just going to back off, possibly go towards his Krugs, because he doesn't really have much else to do at this point in the game. As we see, Wind just trying to farm up early. What you generally do with Victor early is just try and use your Qs to take good trades, because your laser isn't really upgraded yet. Once your laser is upgraded, then your wave clear is that much more empowered. You can start winning the matchup a lot harder.
Yeah, and Lava's actually in the bottom lane now. The Dark Passage is there, but Unified hasn't managed to grab the Lantern. It's everyone's in the way. Unified is able to heal and then finally managed to grab the Lantern to get out.
They should have been spamming all their wards on top of the Lantern, denying that body block, get anything they could. Making sure he auto-attacks it rather than ends up clicking on it. He does get away, and that's going to mean the gank does go astray. But now we're seeing Wulala going and getting that Thunderlord's proc. Yeah. And he's just going to end up stealing these Krugs away, denying so much from the Gragas in the early game. Very well played by Wulala, and he's had so much control.
Unified is starting to go pretty low. He's forced to flash away. It's still going to be first blood for Lil V. Lava is still here, and Lil V is just managing to remain alive. But there he goes. The Void Spikes finally managed to take him down, but PK is teleported into the bottom lane. He gets a 2-man knockup with the Flag and Drag combo. Ninuo is forced to flash away, a 2-for-1 in favor of Raze Gaming.
That was such a clutch body slam, knocking up 2 people in the air, and this pressure that Wulala managed to get for himself has not really merited him much, as now Lava managed to pick up a kill.
Wind!
He's going to go back and...
Whoa!
Wind going very low, having to blow both summoners there.
Luckily for Wind, Wuji is out of mana, so we're not going to see any more action out of him, but that was really close.
Yeah,
and one more auto attack. One more auto attack. Just something to prop off that Thunderlords, and Wind would have been dead.
It's very close there, and like we were saying, Victor just, in the earliest parts of the game, can't keep up with Orianna. Orianna's just so good at controlling the wave, and the burst damage she put down there clearly surprised Wind as he blew both the flash and the heal. One thing I will like to add is I don't like this heal. It should be a barrier. Heal on mid laners shouldn't really be seen as a priority ever, because the opposing mid laner almost always builds Morellonomicon, and when you have to use heal, you'll already have the Grievous Wounds applied to you anyway, and it just makes the summoner spell that much more worthless.
See, I think I can see his reasoning behind this, for the heal, I mean, because Wulala, he seems to be falling into a pattern. Over both of these games, we've seen Wulala show up in the middle lane to look for that gank. He really seems to want to get pressure onto him, so that heal can really help that early duo gank, but the problem is, that's super predictable. And you saw Wuji playing really far back in the early bit. So Wulala actually ended up wasting like 5 seconds just standing there on the side of the middle lane looking for that gank.
If it comes down to the amount of movement speed boost you get from it, though, then you'd much rather be going Ghost. I just feel like the heal is a wasted summoner spell, as it will almost always be affected by the Grievous Wounds.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was just saying that I could see why he wanted it. Because if he has that duo gank, then he can really help Wulala get onto his target.
It's just something I've been seeing recently, where I see mid laners go heal against a mid laner who will clearly be going Morellonomicon, and it just feels wrong.
Wuji's in trouble.
But Wulala...
Wuji has no flash, so if Wulala decides to gank here, this time he hasn't, and PK... I think it's because he decided that PK missing was a very bad sign. They might actually go for the dive. Wind has no flash here. This could be really dangerous for both sides.
You see that Fireball are calling missing exactly on top of the Raptors, though they have knowledge of where he is. They don't know for sure, but they're calling that he could be there. Wulala
is actually caught out while doing the Krugs. He is able to use the Dark Passage to escape, but now spotted and having taken a lot of damage, they're going to be able to predict his route around the map for the next few minutes.
Unfortunately, couldn't body block the Lantern once again. Seems like Koala's not that good at body blocking the Lantern today. Should perhaps put on a few more pounds. See if he can cover it up.
Hey, covering up the Lantern is Lava's job. What are you talking about?
I suppose you'd rather put the fat man on it than the man with the abnormally large torso and the abnormally small legs.
Hey, too bad there's no target-only lanterns button.
It's like attack move, but lantern move.
No, it's like there's a setting
I know.
default to the tilde key where you can target only champions.
Yeah, and you use it in combination with attack move normally.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, he's using that. Good job, Win. You got those minions. I just find it hilarious that he decides to use his ultimate to clear a couple of casters. He still had mana for his death ray. What does he do? After that very strange sequence of events, it looks like Skull is looking for an engage in the bottom lane, but the death sentence goes wide, and he's forced to use Kallista's ult to take a ride on out.
Yeah, he catches a ride all the way to safety, but Wulala's potentially getting collapsed on at this dragon. He's going low enough that he has to back off of it, and that's going to deny the solo dragon here.
Oh, this is pretty... sorry.
As it's an Infernal Dragon, it's actually much more crucial that to both teams. So, Wuji rotating off the wave, losing a couple CS, definitely worthwhile to stop Wulala there.
It was also really smart of Wuji to actually pop the Honey Fruit when he hit it down there, because that would have been Wulala's next move. And with the Honey Fruit gone, he has no way to really regenerate his health to maybe look for a bottom lane gank. Alaba is looking for one himself, but he's not able to get it after a really, really short range Dark Passage.
We're seeing PK though. He's just farming the jungle right now. This is generally what you want to do in a really strong winning matchup. Not to say this matchup is particularly strong, but Wulala nearly would have got caught out by that. This is what you do though. You push the wave, you rotate into the enemy jungle, and you farm. I was watching the CSQ, and there was one particular player who called Dan, who actually ended up having around 12 CS per minute because he picked up almost every single minion in the top lane. Then once he cleared the minion wave, rotated into the jungle, started taking CS, and at like 30 minutes into the game, he had around 360 farm.
That is a lot of farm. We'll see if PK can manage to match it this time around.
He's getting close. He's sitting on 94, almost 10 CS per minute, which still, even in this matchup in particular, is very strong.
He sees Wulala farming his jungle. He didn't decide to take the red buff when he was down there last time, but looks like his rotation to try and kill Wulala is going to be a little bit too slow.
Yeah, he's just going to back off from his wave. He's got plenty of time to be able to move around once he's cleared the wave, though. With this Tiamat so early into no Tiamat from Shen, it just means that he walks up, a couple auto attacks and a Q on the wave, then he can leave. And he does this every single time. Now he can clear out the pink wards and potentially put some wards down in the enemy jungle and just be so safe. It's just PK completely dominating this matchup.
Yeah, and it's definitely smart to try and avoid 1v1ing Kha'Zix in the jungle. When he has higher health, like there are some situations where it's good, especially for a Jarvan, but at the same time, he still has that isolation damage. 1v1ing him is always a kind of a tricky proposition, but it looks like Wulala wants a 1v1 of its own. I think he spotted Lava right there, and he has a level advantage, so let's see what he tries to do.
Seems like also he's been spotted by Laba himself, as they did ping out where he was. He's just going to come in and steal away a couple of the little Krugs, and that's going to be about it. But bot lane...
Oh, Lil V is going pretty low, but he's still alive! He manages to back off, but Skull is the one who finishes off that kill. It gives PK time to teleport into the bottom lane, however, and now Skull has been locked up with the Cataclysm. No flash for either one of the bottom laners. Ninuo is going to be the next target. United has already gone down. Body Slam comes through from Lava. Ninuo is there. The shield comes through from Wuji to keep Lava alive, and that is going to be a 3-for-1 in favor of Raze Gaming.
Lil V staying alive just a little bit longer, able to put down a little bit more DPS, and the rest of his team collapse and get a really strong team fight. This for Raze Gaming is really good looking here, because now they have a team comp where they have an advantage in the early game, and they have the later game scaling. The only thing they really have to worry about is Kalista getting ahead and rolling over them, but now she's already 2 kills down to the Varus. She has to be scared.
Yeah, and I really gotta appreciate that excellent Gragas barrel. Well, we're gonna see it again.
Yeah, you see, Lil V is going low, but the Rend isn't quite enough damage to finish him off. Means he gets a couple more auto attacks, and like you say, the ult from Gragas knocking everybody apart, knocking the support under tower, and then of course holds on to the Cataclysm for as long as possible until all the movement spells are gone. Then so he can lock down Ninuo, so he can lock down everybody for as long as possible. then Wuji comes down to pick up the final kill. As he has the push priority mid lane, he can afford to roam down quicker.
Yeah, knocking Unified under the tower with that, bro. He was actually the one tanking because he was the first one to enter tower range. It was really good. It knocked Unified out of the fight, made sure that they traded 1-for-1 in the 80 carry department, and it gave PK time to finish his teleport. Walala tries to steal away the red buff here in the jungle from Lava, but he's outsmited.
We see both bot lanes switch their places now. So the Unified and Skull were trying to siege up that bot lane tower, but PK's wave clear is so good. Whereas Lilvi and Koala are getting chip damage onto this top lane tower. It's already below half HP. It's going very low. Only a couple more hits left before that's going to go down. And Shen has to pretty much either go in now or just give up his tower.
Yeah, and in the meantime, because of the pressure that PK is exerting thanks to his early Tiamat, he's able to really push up that bottom lane, and it forces Unified and Skull to stay because they don't have enough time to rotate up to the top lane to get Nino down to the bottom lane without giving up tower and giving up a lot of CS.
I like the surprise lane swap there, catching the bot lane off guard, being able to get that first tower for yourselves.
And Rift Herald.
Definitely good stuff.
Yep, they're going to be able to pick up Rift Herald as well. There's no one here to contest. Wulala is stuck towards the bottom side, and he was even actually... I don't know why he actually ulted there, to be honest. Yeah.
So we're seeing in bot lane, they're probably going to end up taking that tower, so they trade 1-for-1 towers and Rift Herald, but they can't even do it. With Jarvan just having so much wave clear at the minute. So they give up everything. They lose the tower, they lose the Rift Herald, and they can't even get anything of their own.
Yep, nothing in return. That bottom tower is pretty low, but not taking it away is a real lapse in terms of pressure. They're not going to be able to push up that bottom lane to even force someone to come down here and farm because that tower is there. And whenever the next time that tower is under pressure, Raze Gaming is perfectly able to just let that one fall. It's basically already gone. It's only valuable in terms of the gold it is worth.
Definitely the case. I'm going to be looking for the Rift Herald to be used potentially mid lane because they've got so much pressure bot lane right now. They're forcing people to respond to it. If they end up putting the Rift Herald down mid lane, they're guaranteed one of the two towers. And if Fireball misplay, they get both.
Ooh, Wind is actually going aggressive. The Stand United comes out from Nino, but Wuji barely takes any damage in that trade.
It doesn't even have any magic resist for himself. It's just a Wind only really getting the upgraded Hex Core. Not able to do enough damage to really threaten the Orianna at this point in the game, as all of the damage from the Hex Core scales with the level.
Yeah, I just feel like Orianna is just the objectively better champion at every stage of the game.
I feel like there are reasons in which you would pick Victor. I feel like if you were deliberately going for a composition where you want to be able to wave clear in the late game, and just survive these sieges, then you're fine, but that's a lot of damage coming out of the Orianna. The problem is, and that's why I agree with you, the Victor wasn't picked in that scenario. The Victor was just picked as a matchup. There wasn't really anything to do with the Victor as a reason they took it from the looks of it.
And the thing is, the Orianna was already seen. They knew what Raze Gaming was taking into the middle lane, and they still picked themselves into this losing matchup.
Orianna would have been... matched up fairly well by Ahri, I feel. Ahri gets the push early. She has the greater kill potential around level 6. And she can look to make picks much better. And like I was saying before, they used the Rift Herald to guarantee themselves both towers at once.
Yeah, and I really love the patience to actually wait for a good opportunity to use it. I've seen it rushed a little bit too often, but in this situation, they can actually get some damage onto the second tier tower.
Yeah, definitely so. That's definitely going to be useful to the Rift Herald, but it is going to go down before it does much more damage to the tower as Unified manages to just rend it to death. But it holds them there in that bot lane for that little bit longer as they have to respond to it, and it means that you just get a good base off where you've got the tempo advantage. You've just got a massive amount of gold from taking 2 towers, and that's exactly what you want, just time to recall when you're in that situation.
Yeah, and it also means that Skull has much less time to actually rotate up towards the Dragon Pit as the next dragon is actually coming up. That enables Raze Gaming to just hold their vision control, because Skull can't go up there and start clearing out the wards. He had to deal with the Rift Herald first, and then it's already been so long by that time he can't afford to actually face check into Rift Herald. Raze Gaming's vision.
Wuji's suddenly feeling spoiled, able to get 2 blue buffs in a game.
He's making up for the fact that he wasn't able to get any last time. This should be a pretty easy Drake for Raze Gaming. I don't see Fireball even attempting to contest it, considering it's only a Cloud Drake.
Yep. The only thing that it adds right now for them is that little bit of movement speed out of combat, and of course the potential scaling of, once again, the Elder Drake. They need to be careful about that. As if Fireball just let Raze Gaming scale up, then the Rift Herald's going to be devastating.
Looks like they're going to try and counter by diving PK, but PK knows they're there.
They're spotted out, yeah.
Yeah, he's playing.
Nice work by the Braum to use the Oracle plant to be able to spot out people in the jungle. So it just means he has to play safer. He forces Kha'Zix to show, and he's able to just clear the wave and be happy, because this is what Jarvan's doing all game today. He's at 175 farm at 18 minutes. He's really not doing bad for himself, considering he's been TPing away from the lane.
Yeah, and you're just really seeing the power of this Jarvan in the early game. When he finishes that Tiamat first, he has so much wave clear. He's really preventing Fireball from getting anything back when they try to return something for their trades. Like, they're trying to make things a trade, but Jarvan is always there to stop that from happening by clearing out all of the minions.
Definitely, and with that Tiamat with the Q, as we mentioned earlier, he's just got so much damage to be able to clear the waves, and obviously that passive. Not really talked about passive. The first auto attack he does on a target, he gets a percentage of their health damage done. And it scales massively with his AD. So that's always really useful to kill minions under tower, as you can let them take 1 tower hit and guarantee you'll kill them anyway, regardless whether you'll be pushed in or not.
Yeah, his abilities are really suited to wave clear, like the Q as well, just being able to, like, bam, all your minions are gone.
Yeah.
And that also shreds their resistances, so it makes the Tiamat be more effective at wave clearing. It's really,
Definitely
really good.
So. Yeah, and of course the E giving him more attack speed as well as an aura. There's so many nuances to Jarvan's kit. There's so much more than just, I am a Cataclysm bot that wants to dive in and kill people. But people don't really talk about it. He's actually quite an intricate champion in terms of the amount of passives he's got, in terms of how his abilities interact together.
Simple to learn, hard to master, just like
Exactly.
League of Legends itself.
Yeah, it's compare League to some other games, and it's particularly easy to pick up. It's so much more accessible if you look at it, because even just how it's presented. You look at something like Dota, and it seems way more cluttered, but looking at mid lane,
Yeah, Wuji actually gets caught out a bit. He's able to flash out over the wall. Unified might now be in trouble. The shockwave comes through, but Unified is able to flash away over the wall. Skull does as well, as PK has joined the fight, and Unified gets knocked right into the front. Another excellent cask by Lava. Oh, and a flash Chains of Corruption comes out from Lil V, and it is going to lock up Skull, enable Lava to take another kill. PK is under the tower. A nice Glacial Fissure comes through from Koala, locking everybody up, allowing them to run behind the towers and start taking away some more kills.
And PK proving me completely wrong, turning Jarvan into just a Cataclysm bot, winning the team fight for his team, coming in, and that means they can go towards the Baron. Wulala is the only member left, and he has to be... They can just leave someone over the wall to make sure he can't get anywhere near. And it looks like that's what they're going to do with Orianna. They're going to sit her there, knowing that she's got the burst to take him down, and she's going to have the job of stopping and being able to take Baron. So we look at the replay, but I'm more focused on the Baron right now. We see basically the teleport come through, and the shockwave just hit one, as the Baron is going to be secured for the Gragas. The Kha'Zix didn't do anything in particular, but Unified just got bopped around that fight multiple times, and then Wind had to flash after getting caught by the Cataclysm. Really nice flash Chains of Corruption. Ends up rooting up Skull in place, so they get the kill on him, and following up the Fissure with the jump in from the Jarvan. Really well done there. And they just got so much from that fight.
Yeah, and I really want to say, again, I really love how Lava has been playing this game. We haven't really spotlighted him much, but his casks have been so freaking on point. Like that.
And at the 305, it shows that he's actually having a very good game for himself as well, yeah.
That's the second time we've seen him knock the AD carry right into the front, where they can kill him off and basically force it to be a 4v5 before Unified is able to get any damage. And especially because Lava was there on the front, and he actually forced them to flash away over the wall. It meant that Unified had no other way to escape once he was knocked into the front.
One thing I want to touch on Wuji, he's well above 10 CS per minute right now, performing so well as a mid laner. Absolutely dominating Wind this series. And in terms of kills, it's not always been the big highlight, but it's the wave pressure. It's the way he can force his opponent to drop so many CS and ensure he gets much more. The way he can take all the pressure of the opposing jungler and still apply so much pressure to the opposing team himself.
A two-man Glacial Fissure and a nice Shockwave Cask combo! Skull manages to escape using the ultimate of his Kalista, but he eventually comes back down and he's gonna go down. Meanwhile, PK jumps onto the backline and takes out Wind for a double kill. He's looking for a triple. He is gonna get it! And that he's, let's see if he's gonna be able to get any more. He's gonna stand on the front, walk out from under the tower. A nice triple kill comes up from PK as it looks like Raze Gaming is looking to open up the base. Yeah, you do still have Wulala there, and there are some low health bars from Raze Gaming, but it doesn't look like Wulala wants to give up his life just to take away a kill. And that'll be the first inhibitor of the game much, much earlier than the last one.
And with Wuji having almost still, he had about full mana when they started sieging on that inhibitor tower. There was just no reason for Ninuo and Wulala to engage in there. It was far too risky. And next, we're probably going to see him get that Liandry's Torment for himself, get that magic penetration, and of course, the percentage health burn to make sure he can take down that Shen that much easier.
Yeah, and Wuji even managed to pick up his third whole blue buff of the game. So many blue buffs this game. It's like Christmas.
This time he's taking the enemies. It's revenge.
It's revenge.
This is personal now.
Yeah, but Clouddrake is going to be coming up in another 30 seconds, but let's see this replay again.
Yeah, we saw the hook land onto Lil V, but then nothing really comes of it. The shockwave plus the explosive cask, but Ninuo jumps away. Shen gets hit by, the Thresh gets hit by the ultimate. What I liked here was the Cataclysm to lock Wind in place, making sure his DPS was completely limited, and then Unified just gets hunted down. But with the concussive blows on his head, no way for him to escape.
Yeah, and also, I underappreciated thing right there is that Lil V actually shot his Chains of Corruptions over onto the right, and it locked Wind out of the fight for about half of its entire duration. And then when he finally joined, he was positioned onto the front line, so he just immediately got bursted.
Yeah, he got hit by that Cataclysm. Wasn't able to do any damage during that because he spent the entire time just trying to get away from Jarvan the Fourth's Q, and he ends up dying to the auto attacks and of course the Orianna regardless. Cost him a lot, and this is going to mean that the siege is just so free, regardless of the Baron buff already being down for Raze Gaming. No one's even going to contest it. And Jarvan the Fourth pushing in this bot lane as well. Yeah, they have multiple waves of pressure.
There's nothing that Fireball can do to contest the tier 2 towers. It's like they'll be very easily outflanked in that position if they actually try to invest anything into defending it, and they can't win a team fight even under a tower right now. They need to actually manage to make a pick, get someone on the front of the fight, and kill them really fast. If they're gonna,
but somebody has to respond to the super minions, meaning this top lane tower is under threat right now.
Yeah, assuming Raze Gaming doesn't make any big mistakes, they've already won this game. And Skull, holy crap, that's a lot of damage. He starts to go low. Unified has used his ultimate. He throws Skull into the backline, but now Ninuo and Unified are just stuck here in the front alone as another inhibitor is being taken down. This should be a 3 inhib by the side of Raze Gaming. They're on the way to the bottom lane. Ninuo is here to try and make a pick, but PK is just going to jump over the wall and start pushing up the minion wave so that they can start doing that. They need to put someone in the side lane now to defend against the super minion push, but Laba is standing there making sure nobody can go anywhere. Skull actually goes incredibly low after a nice command dissonance comes out from Wuji. Laba is forced to jump back over the wall, so leaves Koala inside, but luckily he has this unbreakable, so he is going to be fine. A nice
Not
amount...
playing LT Grey Braum, but the tag team was appreciated there by Laba. Tags him in over the ring ropes. And that's going to mean that they're just going to pressure out. They know that they've got the pressure from these super minions, like you said. So now Shen is shown on that bot side wave. They can push this into the tower. It looks like a team fight
going in. The Stand United comes through. A nice barrel knocks some people back, but it doesn't really do much. A nice three-man shockwave comes through onto the backline. Knocks everybody incredibly low, but nobody is dead just yet. Only PK has gone down. And it looks like it's going to be able to force Raze Gaming away and back to their base and buy them a bit more time.
Yeah, the reset is going to come through. That bot lane tower not going to go down this day. They have to leave it to probably till after the next Baron buff. It's about a minute away, so they're looking to potentially start sieging up for that. But before then, they're probably going to get this Cloud Dragon, and that's going to be the third dragon of the game for themselves. Allow them to rotate around these lanes even faster to be able to deny even more pressure So if you can rotate between the top lane, pushing a super minion wave in, and that bot lane tower, you'll be just dragging Fireball all the way around the map. There's nothing they can do.
Yeah, although I have to say, Skull has landed quite a few nice hooks this game, and
oh god,
that definitely...
they're all pressuring into the top side jungle. They should just
Actually,
go
they're just
down
heading
to
to
bot
bot
side now.
Yeah, here they go. PK is still back towards the middle lane, but he has his teleport available, so he can afford to split push and just teleport down. And what are you doing, Fireball? You need to defend this bot lane tower. Get everybody down there fast. You need to go. I don't think they have enough pressure to hold this tower anymore. Lil V is already onto auto-attacking it.
That's the teleport coming through.
And teleport is actually going to come through from Ninuo to defend it. They have quite a bit of wave clear. Luckily, they're just barely able to defend it, but I don't really see why they needed to waste the teleport to defend this. But PK is actually pushing on the other side. The inhibitor in the middle lane is going to come back up. PK is there to start hitting it back down, but that means Fireball's focus is entirely split. Lil V actually goes for the Chains of Corruption onto Unify, but it doesn't connect. Nuno standing on the front. There might be an engage coming out from the side of Fireball. They need to try and defend this inhibitor. It looks like they can't see a good enough engage opportunity, so they're not going to go for it. But there's a lot of minions onto the bottom side now. Raze Gaming is looking to just finish off that bottom lane tower and 3 inhib Fireball. Meanwhile, on the other side, Raze Gaming is actually pushing up in the top lane. The inhibitor in the top. Oh, it's a nice shockwave on the Skull. He gets immediately bursted by the piercing arrow. It's now a 4v5 as PK is in the bottom lane. Should be able to take away the last tower. Finally, start working on that last inhibitor. Can Fireball really defend in this position? They need to try and find an engage, but it is a 4v5. Skull is not going to come up before this game ends.
And they just utilize the game so effectively that in terms of just dragging them around the map with the minion waves. They force them to show mid, then they start to move bot, then they send somebody top, dragging them around the map. And this looks like it's going to be the game of the massive blow up onto Unified. Goes completely down, and this is going to be the game going over, and the series going over to Raze Gaming, convincingly showing up once again, even better than the first game for them, as they managed to get the advantage in the early game too.
Yeah, and definitely something we wanted to see from Raze Gaming in this series. They're really not locking themselves in as actual contenders. That was really well played game from Raze, certainly better than the first one. But even in the first one, they picked a composition which was almost guaranteed to fall behind, and then they played it really well. I think they have playoff potential, and which is really impressive for a new
potential, especially
team.
after already taking down Marchi. They definitely showed that they can make that top 4. Obviously, Marchi having finished top 4 last season, and now with a performance like this to follow up, it showed it wasn't just dumb luck. This is a team that can show up on the stage, and they'll be able to take down teams. Fireball was the 6th place team. They're taking down the 4th place team. Now they've just got to start taking down maybe that 3rd place team. Maybe see if they see them against J Team. That's a matchup I'll be looking forward to.
Yeah, and speaking to this game itself, I don't really think there's like any particular moment where it started flooding over. I just think the Raze Gaming played it very calculated, very methodically, able to deconstruct the side of the map. For Fireball, just able to take one tower after another and just always take advantages. And honestly, I would say that was more Fireball just not making the right moves around the map, and Raze Gaming able to capitalize off of those mistakes in order to take neutral objectives and take towers and just overall take the lead. And definitely a better draft as well.
Definitely better. We will be seeing Fireball again. It looks like tomorrow they will be going up against the YE Spiders in a best of 3. That'll be our first match of the day tomorrow. We're not going to be seeing Raze Gaming until Saturday, where they go up against Hong Kong Attitude, currently sitting at 0-2. We expected better from that roster, so Hong Kong Attitude would definitely be looking to pick up a win, and Raze Gaming proved that they are this top team that they seem to be right now.
Yeah, but let's give away our MVP. I'm going to give it away to Wuji. What about you?
I think Wuji, you've been giving him a lot of lip service, but I think he's definitely... he definitely deserves it. He's been playing absolutely brilliantly in the mid lane. You saw how the mid lane, he's been pressuring out Wind so much. You saw in that first game, he was the guy who just sponged everything anybody else threw at him, and then he threw it right back into Fireball's face as the game went on.
Yeah, his Oriana play was very, very good. Definitely always, like, I wouldn't say he had the most impressive shockwaves, but all the other aspects of his Oriana play were very strong. He's able to use
his
the wave
his
clear.
ball positioning was the one thing I'd call as weak. He left the ball on his head far too often and didn't really do anything else with it. He should have been trying to zone out opponents, pressure them into situations where they walk into a pile where you can shockwave them, where you can set up a shockwave. But that was really the problem. He really played Oriana as just a spell rotation mage, where you QW, then E the ball back to yourself, QW, and so on, and so on. But he had enough of an advantage where that didn't punish him.
Yeah, maybe less of a practiced Oriana play and more just a really good player. And
Yeah.
he was able to use it very well, and definitely alongside with Laba. Like, if it was just this game, I would actually just give it to Laba, because his casts this game were so good. Like, every single one just totally won Raze Gaming every fight. Like, especially towards the beginning of the game, where they knocked Unified under their bottom lane tower, just took him out immediately.
Oh, that was a beautiful... I remember the body slam, absolutely beautiful, knocking the Kha'Zix out of the air so he couldn't get on top of anybody. We did see that the Varus did go down in that team fight, but it looked so stylish. He was going in for the jump on top of him and gets just bopped right out the air by the huge body slam.
Yeah, and I think we should just leave it on bopped. Let's just say bopped and sign off. But anyways, any closing comments before we take it away?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how Raze perform as the season goes on. They definitely look top 4 material, and I hope to see how they perform against the teams like J-Team, AHQ, and of course, the champions Flash Wolves.
Yeah, definitely a lot of potential for Raze Gaming coming through for the rest of the season, but that's going to be it from us. Make sure to tune in again tomorrow for the LMS. That you said that we're going to see them tomorrow for the first game too, right? YE Spider versus Fireball. Yeah, I think that'll be an interesting matchup, particularly because I think that so far these are the two like weakest looking teams that we've seen. And so it could be a really close match. And who's going to be going to the promotion tournament? We'll see. But that's it from us. And I've had a really nice night casting for or morning casting from you, and I'm sure Sin has as well. Make sure to tune back in tomorrow. We'll see you then.